Welcome to the Mount Clemens City Commission meeting. It is Monday, October 5th at 7 p.m. We will call the meeting to order. This evening, we are pleased to have Boy Scout Troop Pack 1070 here with us. We have members Logan and Noah, who will be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone would please rise and follow along with Noah and Logan.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Hello.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. You did an excellent job. Roll call, please. Roll call, please.
Campbell.
Here.
Fournier.
Here.
Hammond. Good enough. Sorry.
Here.
Hammond.
Here.
Crop.
Here.
Menser.
Here.
Voorhees.
Here.
Thank you. Do we have any announcements, acknowledgements, communications, and reports? Hearing none, we'll move on to the adoption of the agenda. Could I have a motion, please?
Mayor Kropp, I move that we adopt the agenda as printed.
Support. Moved by Commissioner Voorhees, supported by Commissioner Hammond. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Campbell.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Goodenough. Commissioner Goodenough.
Yes.
Hammond.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
Menser.
Yes.
Voorhees.
Yes.
I would just like to put a reminder out there that if you are not actively participating in the meeting, if we just ask that you keep your mic on mute, only because we pick up background noise and it then we can't kind of keep track of the meeting. So if you aren't actively participating, please make sure you mute yourself. Okay, this is the portion of the meeting for public participation. If you would like to participate, we ask that you give us your first name. After we line everyone up, we're going to go ahead and ask you for your full name and your residence address. And if you keep your comments to 3 minutes, we would appreciate it. Is there anyone who would like to get in line for public participation?
Jenny? Sorry.
Go ahead.
You want Jenny to go ahead?
Yep. No, I'll just take your name down. Thanks, Jenny.
Okay.
Is there anyone else?
Beverly LaShore.
Beverly. Okay. Is there anyone else? Okay. Hearing none, we'll start with Ginny.
No,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I didn't hit my unmute fast enough.
That's okay.
Stilson would like to speak.
I'm sorry. Who?
Earl?
Earl. Okay. I will put him on. I'll put him in line then. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm going to go back to you.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to get in line? Okay. Hearing none, we'll start with Ginny. Ginny, could you give us your full name, your address, and then we'll go ahead and start the 3 minutes.
She's muted.
Ginny, we'll need you to unmute yourself.
Okay, I did. Can you hear me now?
I can, yes. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So it's Virginia French,
Okay.
98
Yeah.
Market.
98 Market. Wonderful. Okay, go ahead, Ginny.
Well, I just wondered what what you're planning on doing. regarding this development plan that includes Market Street. That's what this meeting is about, isn't it? Okay, this is the development plan and tax increment for Mount Clemens Downtown Development Authority, and the boundaries include Market Street. What is the development that you're planning?
Ginny, this portion of the public participation, we don't necessarily answer the questions right away. We take everyone's comments and then
Okay.
we answer the questions actually at the next meeting.
Oh, okay, so
This is a general commission meeting. I will just kind of clarify some things for you. This is a general commission meeting. We are the Downtown Development Authority plan and amendment, all of that stuff is on our agenda tonight and will be, as you can see on the screen, we will be going through that in the next, few agenda items.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, excellent. Moving on to Beverly then. Beverly, can you give us your full name and your address, and then we will give you 3 minutes.
Okay. Excuse me. My name is Beverly LeSure, L-E-S-U-R-E. My address is 650 Clinton River Drive, and that's in Mount Clemens 48043, of course.
Okay, go ahead.
I wanted to just speak again. I did say something at the last City Commission meeting regarding the manner in which this sidewalk repair project was handled. And talking to several residents and being at several meetings with some of our community members, there are some things that I wanted to just bring to your attention. Several of us, especially our senior homeowners, feel like that the manner in which this was handled was kind of disrespectful to us as the property owners. We feel that we should have received a more advanced notice that this work was going to be done, and how, that we would have an opportunity to secure our own contractor to get the work completed, quite possibly at a better price than what the city has offered us. We just feel that it was a huge matter of disrespect, because our notice should have come out when the opening was posted for bids to the contractors. And that way we would have had the same amount of time or a similar amount of time as the city had to secure a contractor and have our work done. I don't think there's any issue with getting the sidewalks done, but the issue was that we were given basically 2 weeks to get it done. And possibly part of that is because of the issue with our mail. And that takes me to another issue is there are some people that have still to this day have not received the notice. I don't know if that's because of the mail, because there's a glitch in the city system. I don't know what it is, but I do know of two, a person and a church. My church never received a notice. Then one of our church members came into the office, notified the city that we had not received notification at our church. Still, we did not receive notification. Then a call was made to the city advising that we had not received notification. And to this day, we still have not received the letter at our church. There have been 7 sidewalks destroyed and replaced, but no notification was sent. And we are a 501c3 entity. So I just really believe that that notification should have been given to churches, residents, everyone should have received it. And I know someone living up at 30 North Brown Gratiot. He never got a notice. He never received one.
Beverly, I'm sorry to cut you off, but your 3 minutes at this point is up. So we will make note of what you had said, and we will make sure that you are notified with some information, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Earl Stilton, I believe, is on the line.
Okay. Go for it, Earl. No,
Mr. Stilton, could you give us your address, and then we'll give you your 3 minutes.
okay, the answer 30134 South River Road, Harrison Township.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, go right ahead.
I understand tonight you're asking to extend the DDA and the TIFA district for another 20 years. Is that correct?
We started the process. We will not vote on the actual thing, to extend tonight.
Okay, I'm in favor of that. It's put on record, but I have a question. I have a piece of property that should be in this district, both of the districts. I got 2 pieces of property that's in it now, but the third one is on the corner of Park Street and North River Road. There's an office building, which I do not own, but should be in it. And I own a 2-acre parcel behind it that should be in the DDA TIFA district. And I'd like to know why we're not in it, both of us.
Okay.
You know, you want development in town and you don't include all the vacant and property that deserves to have the benefit.
Okay,
Right.
thank you. Are there any other further public comments?
Thank you.
Hearing none, we will move on to general business. Oh, sorry, administrative responses to issues or questions raised during previous meetings. Mr. Johnson.
Actually, there were 2 items asked at the last meeting. Mr. Kale wanted to know about TIFA capture since 1985. I don't actually have that figure anywhere. I did provide a report that showed for some years that a previous DDA executive director had provided.
Hello?
It's basically not available without pulling every financial report since 1985. Was also asked about tax exempt properties and sidewalk assessments. Tax exempt properties are subject to sidewalk assessments.
Okay, very good. Are there any other questions? Moving on to approval of minutes.
I move to approve the minutes for the regular city commission meeting on Monday, September 21st, 2020, and city commission work session on Monday, September 28th, 2020.
Moved by Commissioner Hammond,
Hello?
Support.
Hello?
I'm sorry, could you please mute yourself at this point? Thank you. Moved by Commissioner Hammond. I'm sorry, I didn't catch the support.
Support.
Supported
Menser.
Thank you. Supported by Commissioner Menser. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Fournier. Commissioner Fournier.
Sorry, I was on mute. I was caught.
Okay,
Yes,
good enough.
Guys, we'll be hearing from my attorneys. Quit
Commissioner,
muting me, scammers.
I'm sorry, sir, but you're interrupting a public meeting. We need you to either we need you to be quiet in the meeting, or this is not the time for public participation, or you'll be muted.
I have Commissioner Fournier, Commissioner Goodenough,
Yes.
Commissioner Hammond,
Yes.
Mayor Crowd,
Yes.
Commissioner Menzer,
Yes.
Commissioner Voorhees,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to general business. Item A, public hearing on the DDA Plan Amendment. Mr. Johnson.
Okay, we have a public hearing scheduled tonight and first reading of the DDA Plan Amendment on agenda for the regular meeting. We also had a work session a little bit earlier to discuss the DDA and the DDA Plan Amendment with the Commission. The attached ordinance amends the DDA plan to extend its duration. By its current terms, the plan would expire on June 30th, 2021. Once the plan expires, the DDA would no longer be able to capture tax increment revenues, and therefore the plan needs to be extended in order for the DDA to continue capturing tax increment revenues to fund its activities beyond June 30th, 2021. The proposed amendment extends the duration to June 30th, 2041. Although if there's any DDA debt outstanding at that time, the plan would continue until that debt is retired. There is currently no DDA debt. All of the other provisions of this plan remain unchanged. The introduction of the ordinance follows the public hearing on the amendment. Commission authorized the notice of hearing at the September 8th meeting, and notice of the hearing was subsequently posted, published, and mailed as required by state law. There are several reports attached. I should say that the attorney representing the DDA in this matter, Jeffrey Aronoff, is online and available if the commission has questions following the public hearing.
Could I have a motion to open the public hearing, please?
I'll move that we open the public hearing on the DDA Plan Amendment.
Moved by Commissioner Voorhees, supported by Commissioner Fournier. Could I have a roll call, please?
Goodenough,
Yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
Crab,
Yes.
Menzer,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Okay, now we can officially have discussion, and we can also, I believe, hear public comment on the DDA plan, correct? Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Okay, so first I would ask that if we have any questions from commissioners. And I would like to just kind of clarify that the downtown development plan that is presented is an extension of the current downtown development plan. Is changing dates, essentially. It is not changing boundaries or any kind of tax increase, anything to that effect. Does anyone else have any questions or comments from the commission?
I have one question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Goodenough.
I don't know if this is off topic or not, but is there a percentage of the budget that will be set aside to bring in Black businesses, not just to send them over to the county? Are we going to set aside any money to bring in any businesses that are Black and Brown owned? Is my concern.
That is something that actually I wrote down from our discussion earlier, because I don't feel it's a valid point that we're not doing at this point, and obviously something we can expand on and look to do. So I don't know about in terms of a portion of the budget, because it's not something we've addressed yet, but will be something that we bring to the leadership of the DDA and to the DDA board. But I can keep you posted on it.
I do have one other question. Can the DDA go out and get debt without the approval of the city commission?
I believe that would be a question for Mr. Murray.
I'm just referring to Exhibit A of the plan amendment.
This is Jeff Aronoff. I can take that one. Can you hear me, Mayor?
Yes,
Yep,
I can.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Okay, great. Sure. So the DDA could theoretically issue bonds that were secured only by tax increment revenues. However, pretty much all tax increment bonds are also backed by the general obligation, full faith and credit of the parent municipality. What we call naked TIF bonds, bonds that are secured just by tax increment revenues, really are not marketable these days. So in that case, the city commission would need to approve the full faith and credit pledge of the city. So effectively, the DDA really, there's really no practical way that right now, at least, it would be able to issue bonds without a city pledge of its full faith and credit, which would require city approval. And the provision in the plan that talks about debt simply just, that's a fairly standard provision, though it was not in the original plan, but it provides that it's really in place if bonds for some reason are issued in a duration that would otherwise exceed the duration of the plan. It needs to sort of guarantee for bondholders that there'd be a source of repayment. So we always, in our amendments that refer to a plan extension, we always have that language in there that basically says the duration of the plan would be sufficient to continue to capture tax increment revenues during the time the bonds are outstanding.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we can open up for public comment to the Downtown Development Authority Plan. If there's anyone who would like to comment on specifically this agenda item. If you have any comments, please give me your first name. I will put you in line, kind of like we did with the public participation.
I think you need a motion to open public participation, don't you?
We did.
We opened the public hearing, so I believe that covers it,
Okay.
doesn't it, Mr. Murray?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Did you hear me?
Yes, I heard you. Yep,
Okay.
thank you. Is there anyone who would like to participate or give some comments for the Downtown Development Authority Plan? This agenda item is what we're.
Yes, George Kale.
Okay, George. Is there anyone else?
What's that? Oh, it's a straight line. Probably actually goes to a point. Okay.
Anyone else that would like to comment? Okay, George Kale, we'll go ahead and hear you. Could we have your full address and your address, and we'll give you 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor Crop. George Kale, 180 Grand Ave. And if I could ask Mr. Aronoff, the maximum indebtedness of $5 million for the bonding capacity for the DDA, does there have to be a budget submitted along with that, or can that be submitted when any bond is sought after?
So any entity that will be spending money has to submit a budget. I believe and assume that the DDA has an annual budget that is submitted every year anyway. I'll sort of defer to the commission to just confirm that there's a DDA budget, and those are subject to approval of the city. So any operating or capital plan, which would include bonds, would be part of a budget that is already required to be adopted, whether you're issuing bonds or not. And that's just an ongoing requirement. So the answer to your question is yes. It would need to be part of a budget, and there's already a process for a DDA budget to be approved, submitted by the DDA and also approved by the city.
Okay, that's a good clarification. And it does appear as if the boundary will change a bit. We are going to amend the boundary to add the riverfront, which I believe is a pretty good idea, especially when the strategic plan that recently was implemented. We included language to amend and include the exploration of potential riverfront development. And I was just wondering if any of this $5 million bonding capacity was earmarked for any projects, or if that will be revisited at a later time. If anybody on the commission may have that answer.
Two points, Madam Mayor. Number one, that boundary was amended 2 or 3 years ago to include the riverfront. That is not part of this amendment.
Not new to this amendment, correct?
Right, and
West bank of the riverfront.
It's on the map.
We amended that, we amended that to include the west bank.
Right.
Not
What
the
we're
east.
just saying is it's not new to this plan. It was it was amended before.
The map in question was from the last time this was done.
yes.
Go ahead with your second point, Mr. Murray.
The second point is no money has been, no bonds have been
Earmarked.
earmarked because, well, no money's been earmarked because no bonds have been requested and or gone through that process. And I'm not aware of anything,
This just defines a
on the
limitation.
horizon.
Right, this just defines a limitation, Mr. Aronoff.
Yeah, again, that is a provision that is really it's a best practice to always have that in your duration statement, that reference to bonds. But there are no plans that I'm aware of. There are no proceedings related to the issuance of bonds that have been undertaken or, as far as I'm aware of, even contemplated.
Okay, excellent. Sorry, Mr. Hale, do you have any further questions?
No, that is good clarification. I appreciate the response.
Great, thank you. I'm sorry, I thought I heard someone else asking a question.
Yes, this is Kathy S. on screen.
Yep.
I'm looking.
Kathy, can you give me your full name and your address, please, for the record?
Kathy Schuler, 30134 South River Road, Harrison Township, Michigan, is my home address.
Okay, great.
By the way, I want to give a big shout out, thank you to the city clerk who went above and beyond today and scanned and sent me a copy of the map to the DDA. Wasn't required, but I'm very appreciative. I believe in giving credit where credit's due.
Excellent, thank you.
I'm looking at the map and I see that, and it could only be, you know, these things are subject to how they shift on a screen.
Sure.
It looks like the tail end of the west bank of the river is not included as part of the DDA. And it's, oh, okay, I'm sorry. The west bank of the river, and it's the, probably that's technically the south bank. Oh, what, thank you, Earl. The part where Paul's riverboat.
Okay.
Is that excluded, or is it just that it just didn't shift out to capture that little triangle point of that property?
Can someone clarify that boundary for us?
Because we have a new owner of the restaurant there, and he's been doing tremendous things. And he would be a good addition to this. That's Bob Hallis, Bob and Tanya.
Can somebody clarify if that's included or not, that area? I mean, from my map, it looks like it is, but I just wanted to, Mr. Aronoff, Mr. Murray.
I don't know. Is Mr. Tingley available?
Hi, Laura, I'm here. It does include them.
Oh, it does? Excellent.
It has always included them.
Okay, I'm just looking.
Pointed at Dan.
Yeah, it looks like there's a straight line where their property starts and where it goes off to a triangle. And I was afraid that it wasn't part of it.
I've been servicing Paul Gallis, the Clinton River Boat Cruise, as well as the restaurant for years.
Okay.
Great, thank you for the clarification. Kathy, did you have any other questions for us?
No, that's not part. Oh, the floodplain, that's not part of this right now. We're on like B, right? On the agenda?
Right, we're on A.
we're on A. Okay. Thank you. I'll shut up.
Is there anyone else who has any questions for the public hearing of the Downtown Development Authority Plan Amendment?
I would just like to ask really briefly. My name is Thomas Barnes. I live at 291 Jones Street in Mount Clemens. And looking through the earlier projections of the money that the DDA lost, the DDA took a pretty big hit to their TIFA budget in years 2005 through 2009. But it seems that the DDA has rebounded quite nicely over the past few years. As a resident, a longtime resident of the city of Mount Clemens, my question is, what are we getting for this money? Like all of this tax capture that is going to the DDA, as far as we talk often about downtown events and things that happen in our downtown, but like what really is happening? Our riverfront is poorly looks poor now. Our downtown area isn't as walkable as it could be. A lot of our businesses are vacant. So, and we have very few downtown events, and those events that are happening downtown don't attract large swaths of people into our downtown, which would encourage our businesses to stay open later and give us more bang for our buck. So if we are going to keep this entity around for another 20 years, signing in a 20-year deal to 2041, where some of us won't even be here in 2041, my question would then be, what are we getting to keep this entity around that is capturing all of these taxes?
May I respond?
Absolutely.
Okay. Thomas, many times the city has come to the DDA to help and assist with repairs downtown. There was a point in time for 5 years that we gave the city 2/3 of our budget so that they could do things that they weren't able to do. We all know it got really tough there for a while, but we have always been good stewards of our funds. We have always been there to, when Brian has asked us to partner up and help with different projects that they've gotten grants for and they needed matched funding. We've always been there. We keep the fountain going, the clock going. There's repairs. When they call and ask for help, we're there. We have never once turned the city down to help them financially with any project. I hope that answers your question.
I mean, and I believe we were just talking in our work session about, increasing the economic development direction of the DDA in terms of bringing back some sort of economic development, either a director or a entity that can help with that, like the county. We're trying to shift the role of the Downtown Development Authority in terms of event planning to economic development.
Laura, we haven't had a director in 8 years. I have been by myself. So we need to have someone. I do my best to try and keep everything afloat, but I'm only one person. And I actually am the events person, but I have taken on many hats over the last 8 years. So, I move things when I can.
So in those past 8 years would include from 2012 to current day, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so from 2012, the DDA collected $332,000 in 2012, $344,000 in 2013, and has been over $300,000 worth of tax capture in those 8 years without having a director. And there's been the question of whether or not we have a director can no longer be a hindrance on why these things aren't happening. And I guess that's not, it's more of a like, what is the outcome and what is the direction for the future? Because from a resident standpoint, there's always talk. There's been 2 elections that have passed in the last 16 months. And during both of those elections, the downtown development were all hot button issues. But in that time,
Well, and
granted, we've had COVID during this time, but what is how do the residents know what the direction of the DDA is, even from an event schedule? Because growing up here, our events 10 years ago were a lot better than they were 2 years ago. So what is our forward direction as it relates to the $300,000+ a year that the DDA is capturing in TIFA funds?
Well, one of the projects is the farmer's market shed that we're still trying after 5 years to get that completed for multiple use, for residents to use for different events, for private promoters to come in for different events. We're working on the art space. We're working on a lot of projects. I'm happy to meet with anyone, including the commissioners at any time. Stephen and I, our doors are wide open. So anyone that would like to sit down and talk to us about, you know, the things we're trying to get done, trying to get the Children's Museum set up. We had a setback a couple weeks ago, and we're working on trying to keep them in our downtown. And also, we, as I said earlier, we've brought in some new businesses that you're going to see opening up in the next 2 weeks. We've got a couple that will be opening. And after that, there's about 4 more that are coming that should be open within the next 2 months. So as I said, I'm one person changing hats all day. There's administration work to be done. I don't know what to tell you. We have a plan. Laura sits in. She's our liaison person between the DDA and the city. But you're welcome to come to the meetings if you want to see what we're doing. And it's an open forum.
Thank you, Mr. Barnes. Are there any other questions for the Downtown Development Authority Plan Amendment for our public hearing? Hearing none, I ask for a motion to close the hearing.
Mayor Krapp, I move that we close the public hearing on the DDA Plan Amendment.
Moved by Commissioner Voorhees. Do I have a support? Support by Commissioner Goodenough. Does anybody have any further questions? Hearing none, a roll call, please.
Hammond,
Yes.
Crop,
Yes.
Menser, Commissioner Menser, Commissioner Voorhees,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Goodenough,
Yes.
Commissioner Menser, are you there?
Yes, I was muted. Yes,
Okay.
the answer is yes.
Thank you.
I don't think I voted.
I
Okay.
heard you say.
Okay, so we will move on to the first reading of the DDA ordinance amendment. Do I have a motion, please?
I move to approve the introduction and first reading of the amended Downtown Development Authority Ordinance 14.300 et sequer, and to set October 19th, 2020 as the date for the second reading and adoption of the ordinance.
Support.
Thank you. Moved by Commissioner Menser, seconded by Commissioner Campbell. Do you have any questions or well, actually, Mr. Johnson, do you want to read the description, please?
The description just says that following the scheduled public hearing, we're asking the commission to adopt the motion which was made to recognize first reading of the ordinance and to schedule adoption for October 19th.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments about the ordinance? And this would be commissioners only, please, since the public hearing is now closed. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Actually, I do.
Yeah. Commissioner Menser?
One of the things we talked about in the workshop, and one of the things, and I'll make clear, I think that Mickey does some really wonderful events, but I think it's important that we concentrate on encouraging economic activity and growth, business attraction, business retention. I think that's important. And there's if you look at the development plan that I pulled off the website that we looked at briefly, there's a section in here that I have never heard talked about. This plan was written in 2003, and it also says that the DDA plan would include the installation of video surveillance equipment to protect the public property from vandalism. There's also a clause in here about public safety. So I think that's a conversation that at some point we need to have with the DDA. It might prevent some of the activities that go on downtown, either after hours when the bars are closing, or when there's been little incidents of vandalism, like the lights being ripped down at Artist Music. So I just wanted to point those things out.
I would like to point out with you, since you brought those things up, it just made me think of, the DDA has been extremely responsive in terms of being proactive about safety. We just, during the summer, after the bars were reopened, there were some incidences at one of the bars in central downtown. And so the DDA hired an extra sheriff's car for the summer, and there actually was no further incidences after the DDA that spent over $7,000 on having an extra, what we called the bar car, and provided that for the city and for downtown and for the safety of our residents. Also, the Downtown Development Authority is going in and partnering with us to have a project for our city, for the Cherry Street Mall, and removing those, I would say, benches and chairs that have long passed since their use. They are in terrible shape, and the city didn't necessarily have the budget or finances to do that, even though they've been wanting to do it for a few years. So this DDA took that on as a project and did partner with the city in terms of splitting the cost. So I mean, these are things that are improving our infrastructure, maintaining safety, and we talked about economic, like I said, with looking at different options for moving the focus to economic development. These things don't happen overnight. We actually didn't have DDA meetings for a good part of the year because of COVID. So we were unable to have a meeting from March. I'm sorry, I think we did have a March meeting from April, May, and June. We've been operating only since July, and we're able to get some of these things done. So, I have a hard time when we say, what are we getting for our money? Those are prime examples of things that we're getting for our money. Anyone else who has questions or comments? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Rob,
Yes.
Menser,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
I didn't hear that.
Yes.
Thank you. Goodenough,
Yes.
Hammond.
Yes.
Moving on to item C, capital improvement bonds for the ice arena. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. Before I start going through the cover letter, I'd like to introduce again Jeffrey Aronoff of Miller Canfield, who will be bond counsel on this issue, and Michael Gormley of Northland Securities, who we're recommending to be the financial advisor on this issue. There are 3 documents attached related to the issuance of capital improvement bonds to finance new compressors, a new roof, and resurfacing the parking lot at the Mount Clemens Ice Arena. The first is our proposed schedule for issuing bonds. The second is the resolution of intent. And the third is an agreement with Northland Securities to provide financial advisory services related to this bond issue. Also in the packet of materials, although it's not one that actually requires action, is the services that will be provided by Miller Canfield. You'll note the schedule has 2 items highlighted. These are the 2 times the commission will be asked to approve an action. The first is tonight, which is to approve the resolution of intent. And in doing that, what you're doing is approving publishing a notice of intent to issue capital improvement bonds. That's the second attached document. With this resolution, all the commission's actually approving is putting an advertisement in the newspaper. It does not obligate the city to follow through with the rest of the process. However, it is a critically important part of this process because this notice is the official start. And we have to wait at least 45 days after publishing the notice of intent before we can move forward with the bond issue. The second highlighted item is the bond authorizing resolution, and that's not scheduled until November 16th. And that resolution would actually grant approval for the city to issue the bonds. And once that approval is granted, the rest of the process is basically in the hands of staff, the financial advisor, and bond counsel. I already noted that Michael Gormley's online with us tonight. Cliff and I are both recommending Michael Gormley of Northland Securities be named as the financial advisor. We have both independently worked with Michael Gormley in the past on many successful bond issues. The city has used Miller Canfield, Paddock and Stone in the past as bond counsel, and we see absolutely no reason to change. Miller Canfield is an extremely well-respected firm in the field of securities law. And Jeffrey S. Aronoff, the attorney who will represent us, is also the attorney who was assisting the DDA with their renewal process. So you are already somewhat familiar with Jeffrey. The agreement with Northland Securities is attached, and we'll be asking you to approve that in the recommended motion. We are planning to do a work session. If there's no objection, I'd like to do that before the next City Commission meeting on October 19th at 6 o'clock to review the project once again with the commission and to answer questions about the financing. There is a recommended motion which has not been put on the table yet.
I would entertain a motion for this agenda item.
Mayor Kropp, I move to adopt the attached resolution of intent to approve the financial advisor agreement with Northland Securities and to authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the agreement.
By Commissioner Voorhees, is there a support?
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Hammond. Is there any questions or comments? No questions or comments? Hearing none. Commissioner Renzer, did you have one?
No, I'm good. I think it's a good plan.
Okay, okay. All right, well, roll call, please.
Menzer,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Fournier,
Yes.
Goodenough, Commissioner Goodenough,
Yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
Kropp.
Yes. Okay, moving on to agenda item D, budget resolutions. City Manager Johnson.
Yes, thank you. The city manager's recommended revised budget was delivered to commissioners on September 17th. It can also be viewed on the city's website on the main finance department page. When viewing it online, you can easily navigate the document using bookmarks. A presentation of the budget was made at the last regular meeting on September 21st, and then this was followed with a special work session last Monday on September 28th. As you peruse the document, I'd like to draw your attention to the proposed annual budget resolution and General Appropriations Act, which appears on pages 14 to 21. It is also attached to this document. There are actually multiple budget resolutions shown in the book, but we're only asking the commission to adopt this one because the other two do not need to be readopted as they have not changed since the commission adopted them on May 18th. So I have a recommended motion below, which I would suggest that the commission adopt.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion.
I move to adopt the attached resolution labeled Budget Resolution 1, Annual Budget Resolution and General Appropriations Act, which also appears on pages 14- to 21 of the 2021 revised budget book.
Thank you. Moved by Commissioner Hammond. Do I have a support?
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Campbell. Does anyone have any questions, comments?
I'm not going to vote to approve a budget that shows us as $831,000 in the hole. That's my bottom line.
Are there any further questions or comments?
Just for the record, I would like City Manager Johnson to address that. I don't think it's in the hole per se. We have to use some of our general fund, but it is a small percentage and we still maintain a very positive surplus in our general fund. Is that correct, Mr. Johnson?
That is correct. We maintain an extremely healthy general fund with fund balance starting the fiscal year at $7 million, a little over $7 million, which is 63% of proposed revenue. When the recommended amount is basically 2 months of expenditures, which is 16.7%. But more significantly, $500,000 of the $831,000 is a transfer to the sidewalk fund to provide working capital to allow 2 more sidewalk districts to be completed in the spring. Most of that will eventually be repaid when residents pay their sidewalk bills and will ultimately be returned to the general fund. It isn't really an expenditure out of the general fund that's going to be gone forever. Most of it will be coming back. I would also note that this is the second year of making $500,000 transfers to the OPEB trust fund in conjunction with an agreement with state treasury. Next year that declines to $180,000. So there's a $320,000 savings there, which basically puts us back at a break-even point. So I feel very comfortable with this amount.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions, comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Fournier,
Yes.
Goodenough,
Yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
Croft,
Yes.
Menzer.
No.
Okay, moving on to agenda item E, second reading of the flood plan management. Commissioner Johnson, or sorry, City Manager Johnson.
I'm going to call on Mr. Tingley to describe this one for you.
Well, this is really just a second reading and adoption of the ordinance amendment that was reviewed at the last meeting. This is typically a consent agenda item. I have no further comments at this time.
Excellent, thank you. I'll entertain a motion, please.
Move to approve the second reading and adoption of an amendment to 21.013, Section 3, regarding the National Flood Insurance Program.
Support.
Moved by Commissioner Fournier, supported by Commissioner Hammond. Roll call, please. Oh, sorry, does anybody have any questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Campbell,
Yes.
Fournier,
Yes.
Goodenough,
Yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
Crop,
Yes.
Menser,
yes,
Voorhees.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, moving on to general item 9F, approve purchases and payments of invoices.
Move to approve purchases and payment of invoices as presented.
Moved by Commissioner Campbell. Do we have a support?
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Goodnow. Anybody have any questions or comments? Hearing none. Roll call.
Fournier,
Yes.
Goodenough,
Yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
Crop,
Yes.
Menser,
yes,
Voorhees,
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Agenda item 10, consent agenda. Could I have a motion, please?
Move to approve consent agenda as presented.
Moved by Commissioner Campbell. Do I have a support?
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Fournier. Roll call, please.
Goodenough,
Yes.
Hammond,
Yes.
Crop,
Yes.
Menser,
yes,
Voorhees,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Agenda item 11, city manager's report. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you. I want to start by talking about hybrid commission meetings. We do have the device that I told you about 2 weeks ago. Patrick and I conducted a test of it using Zoom on Friday morning. And it worked pretty well. However, that test only involved connecting a single external microphone. We need to test it with 10 microphones fed through a sound control board. And if that works as expected, we think the October 19th City Commission meeting can be done as a hybrid meeting. For a hybrid meeting, we would limit in-person attendance to city commissioners, the city attorney, city clerk, and city manager. Other department heads in the public would continue to connect remotely using Zoom. We are likely to schedule that to occur at the high school instead of at City Hall because handling the technical side of such a meeting would be much easier to do in that building. The mayor and I are going to be meeting with Patrick tomorrow to look at the facility. Firefighter hiring status. The 3 firefighter candidates are progressing in their hire progress. They've all taken the physical and drug screen. We did not yet have the results back on those on Friday. Some are awaiting the TB test results, but we anticipate receiving the clearances early this week now. And then the last component of pre-employment process is the mask fit test, which will be coordinated after the physical results are known. Right now, it appears that October 19th may be the start date for the 3 candidates. Got the upcoming agendas. Also want to very briefly address, and I won't be more than briefly because there's so much that is unknown in regard to the Supreme Court decision on Friday after this went to bed. The Supreme Court threw out the governor's executive orders, claiming she did not have constitutional authority to make those orders. That could be problematic for us because we have taken several steps, including, we have out a couple of COVID-19 response plans and the reopening plan that were based on authority in the governor's orders. We're basically taking a wait and see approach right now. I understand that the Department of Health and Human Services has already issued some orders that basically duplicate some of the things that were in previous executive orders. We have been told that we have the 21 days from when the court acted before the authority of those orders has disappeared, but it seems to be being contested. And I don't know whether that date is actually in the court order or not.
8 o'clock.
But so it's wait and see. We're going to continue operating the way we have been, and we're going to continue with our COVID plans as they are for the moment.
Thank you. We will move on now to our second opportunity for public participation. If you would like an opportunity to speak, I need your first name. Then when you are called upon, we will ask for your full name, your address, and abide by our 2-minute rule. Is there anyone at this time who would like to speak at our public participation?
Yes, my name is Beverly.
Beverly, okay. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Okay, hearing none. Beverly, can you give us your full name and your address? And I'll go ahead and start your 2 minutes.
My name is Beverly LaSure. My address is 650 Clinton River Drive. And I just wanted to follow up on what I was stating earlier, that I just hope that there will be a new plan in place as to how residents are notified about mandatory or required repair work that we have to do. This has caused a hardship on many people. And I just hope that this is something that we can have the ordinance changed, modified, so that people are given consideration. And I would also like to know if I can get a confirmation that any destruction of property that has taken place due to replacing these sidewalk slabs, their properties will be made new, like in the grass and that type of thing that had to be destroyed in order for this sidewalk repair to be completed.
Thank you. Are there any other public participation comments at this time? Hearing none. We'll move on to commissioner comments. We'll go ahead and start with Commissioner Campbell.
Yeah, listening to all the work and details and everything that goes into making these meetings take place with regards to all the people that work for the city that we hear from on these meetings, I would like to give a thank you to, but I would also like to thank all those employees who are behind the scenes, who are not here, but do a lot of work to make the city move forward and work as well as it does. So I just want to say a thank you to all of them. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner Campbell. Commissioner Goodenough?
I would just like to say that everyone knows that the election is coming up. If everyone could take a friend, bring a friend to the polls, or encourage them to vote. If they cannot get out and vote, please fill out their absentee ballots. And of course, do their census, which I'm sure Commissioner Voorhees will say. And just everyone have a wonderful night. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Hammond.
Thank you, Mayor Crop. I would like to see the DDA implement a program for minority businesses, along with hosting events for minorities in the community. I would like to also welcome the Parks and Rec Board members, and for everyone to wear your masks, social distance, and also remember to wash your hands. That's all I have for tonight.
Thank you. Commissioner Fournier?
Thank you. I want to thank the Cub Scout troop, Pack 1070, for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Great job, guys. We really appreciate that. I would also like to say on the sidewalk repair program, sure, I did have an opportunity to talk with Jer, and we agree that you need more than 2 weeks notice, and that is not an ordinance. That's just something that we need to do. So it should in the future, I hope that this notice goes out on a much more timely basis for all the residents. With respect to the DDA, obviously it's a very passionate subject and there's a lot of opinions. And what we really want is to know transparency. But I do want to say that it in no way should make the people of the DDA, especially Mickey and Steve's staff, defensive, because we know that you've put a lot of time, effort, and your own resources into this city, and we do truly appreciate that. So thank you for that. That's what I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Menzer.
I think that if people went to the website under community development and then economic development, there is the DDA downtown development plan and the tax increment financing plan. I think if people took a look at that, they would find a lot of very interesting things. There's some things I pointed out tonight that I read in there that's been in the plan since 2003. I think it'll clarify some things. I think the DDA has, and Ms. Weiss have done some excellent event coordination and planning. But I think that in these kind of economic times, it is important that we embrace a relationship with the county and that we drive harder for economic development, business retention, and marketing. Thank you.
Commissioner Voorhees.
Yes, once again, the census is so very important, and I know it's either at the end or pretty close to it. The last number I saw was that we were at about 74 or 75%. The unfortunate thing is that means out of 4 people, we're not counting one of them, and I think that is sad because the census is what's based for representation in Congress and the state, and also the funding that we get. So if you can search around, find your census form and fill it out and get it in. I also would like to thank the Boy Scout Pack 1070 as a cub and a former Boy Scout member at Troop 99 Lincoln School, Mount Clemens. Once a scout, always a scout. So it was a very, very proud to have Logan and Noah here tonight. Also, once a Clemite, always a Clemite.
Thank you. I too would like to say thank you to Boy Scout Pack 1070 and a special thank you to Noah and Logan. I enjoyed our brief interview before the meeting, and I really thank you for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. I just want to say that I'm really, really looking forward to in-person meetings again, and have been encouraging that to happen, as safely as we can. I think it's important as a team, as the commission as a unit and as a team to be meeting again in person. And I think it's a good thing for Mount Clemens, and it's a good thing for us, our city. So I'm really looking forward to that. I would like everyone to mark their calendars. We have a new date for the State of the City address, because the governor opened theaters in limited capacity, but she did open theaters. We are able to hold the State of the City address at the Emerald Theater on November 13th at 8 a.m. So if you are available, we would love to have all of you. And of course, I send that invite to everyone in the city, including our city commission. And I want to kind of put out a challenge to the city commission. If there's something that you think we should highlight or talk about in our State of the City address, I'm taking suggestions, and please reach out to me and let's brainstorm and talk about that address. If you are planning to vote by mail in our election, we are encouraging you to make sure that your absentee ballot gets returned. If you're going to use the post office, we're asking that you do it as soon as possible. Please don't wait, because we have had issues with the our post office, the mail being slow. So please, if you're going to do that, please do that soon. And if you, we are encouraging everyone to return their ballots by the city's drop boxes. That one is located in City Hall, and then we have another drop box that's located out by the gazebo. It's a gray box. It looks like a post office box, but you can, it's gray and it's marked for ballots. So please, it's right on City Hall property. Make sure you're exercising your right to vote. I would like to thank all of the people that have stepped up and volunteered for one of our many boards and commissions. I'm excited and proud that we are reinstating our Parks and Recreation Board, and I look forward to all of the great things that they're going to be doing here in the city soon. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Moved by Commissioner Campbell, supported by
Commissioner Fournier.
Commissioner Fournier. Roll call, please.
Hammond,
Yes.
Crab,
Yes.
Menzer,
Yes.
Voorhees,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Fournier,
Yes.
and Goodenough.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great
Yeah.
night. We'll see you soon.
Good night.
Good night.